I should really things. Yeah, it's driving. Wow, sure. Yeah. It's like, oh, you know, yeah. So, don't I actually, my wife is on the you know, my it's spending very long time trying to find part because then I'm so six. So very soon, I think you know, feel the need. Even when they do it too long, also it is the guys not sure why they do it. He's very that he's like $6. Yeah, I was gonna say, source of you've got that in another need. That don't just. Yeah, even it's directly. Where you be like a lot of things to exactly. So you go. Every time they should be. And I'm background, yeah. And then the story else, we young Creos. Quite playing what? For the that's my nose. Place it aside. There's a big reference. Vicky asked someone, you know, sort of health practice for her. So, like, you have a system in a shop. We want to minutes. On you. Or it's not. I've heard you sometimes. I like that. There was with all of them. Always at the time that I read the shows of the students in all that. That I think sort of radar stuff going on. And I was like, oh, it has that. It's fine. You know, Joey. What can we go? I think that was those are getting each other. Right, yeah. Crazy shot like it. When they did that top series, when I went to the film. I said, you need dollars. Consider just going to New York. Right. You can do it low. Yeah. That's it. You know, things like soon, we're going to get a break. So we want to, yeah, we know. This starts to get a little bit right. Why we need and tell me why. It's staying. So, if you call between their signal, what's the point? It's so that's why I got so no, if one that or later. The every style. If we're trying to think over here, there are information stop. We're going to tell you like I can work for that. Kind of reminds me of legislature. When people up there go, I don't know. It was an asshole stops out of town. I remember going to that when you like it 30 years. When I just it was one or two. Where do you look? That was, there's something who's bad now. It's all about. I'm sure I found out that you shouldn't drop down this one down. Oh, Jesus. And you're 12 yards, it's just something. That's all I see on YouTube. It's so long. That's what I know. Oh, sir, how do you realize? I'm just wanted to this. The legislature leadership, we just signed up.
I did, so thank you.
Smart, Trump. Trump's later. Boy, I'll tell you, out there, leadership. They have the power, they have time. Well, he's only up, when you come here, you try to learn it, because you'll forget the just can't do it. And so, and the thing that was, yes, it's right, but I am a friend. There you go. Places you're not very, questions are not uncommon. Correct. Even just for the movie, so anyone that's even give that. That's good job, that is. In order to understand. It's not first. So it's right. Let's see, it's supposed to be cold or three. I don't try it Saturday or something. And then we also. Found the bus thing and I was like to trust the money. Then money goes up by your higher son. And then it goes back down. That's what you know. Sitting there, this thing going on the time. You're never be growth specialist in business. He can't see. But I don't trust these study the values and talking. That's the next week, but around that that's not against our observers. So, for the York family, business, but yeah, it's not really on. You laugh. It's pretty soon. Exactly. In this one, start counting. Carry percent revenue. So it's just splitting, splitting, basically. Splitting. It's coming down. It's it's coming in one of the tier one. So I one of those here, but so much. Like so, when I have to talk fast so we can catch up. One thing I heard is fails about Cojoy, who was supposed to be here last week, screw up the resident. So Eric Marcus, thank minister, and everything else that he does, Beth, for all the setup. Fails, Mark Weinstein, and Mike Swick for the programs, and Jim Gunn for the website. Okay, communication. Okay.
Well, good afternoon. It's kind of a coolish day and a cooler weekend coming. Would you join me in prayer? Oh, Holy Creator, thank you for this food and for those who graciously serve it to us. Help us appreciate those who serve us on a weekly basis. We also thank you for the others who serve us. Police, other law enforcement officials, fire rescue professionals, and our servicemen and women around the world. Bless us and give us the humility to serve each other in our community effectively. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Danny. Secretaries of Holy Joe Jenkins.
We're at 6 today. We got a couple of guests. Steve, you want to go first? You introduce your guest, Steve?
Oh, Steve Temple, and my lovely guest is my wonderful, beautiful bride, Kathleen Wright.
Dick will have the guest.
Well, he's not my bride, but friend and going to be a candidate for probate court judge, Wayne Wainwright. I'm Wayne.
And then Shayna's got a guest.
Got out of here with me today. Joe,
Oh, yeah.
I have an almost guest, soon to be a member,
Yeah.
Greta Costa.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I've got Kenzie here almost to be a member as well, from Games Investment.
In fact, we're going to do something with that right now. Ask Brian Lane to come forward.
Okay,
Yeah, thank you.
That'll be $5.
John's our board attorney, Beavercreek, and he is also a Rotarian and Paraplegic.
We can get to the steps. Sir. So that comes to be. Let's be watch out.
Well, good day, everyone. I am very to introduce two new Rotarians to our club. At this time, Greta, is it Batten or Baton? Batten Costa, please rise and be recognized. I waited until you were had a mouthful. Born and raised in Bell Fountain, Ohio. Greta graduated from Benjamin Logan High School, Logan County. And she did everything there. It's a small school. She was in band, choir, theater, yearbook, and flags. By the way, but I had to ask her, what instrument did you play? Drums. She went on to earn her bachelor's degree from Minot University in Minot, North Dakota. And you may have guessed that she was stationed at Minot. Why else would you go there? She enlisted in security and was later commissioned as an officer and retired after 26 years as a major. Now, surprisingly, she was never stationed at Wright Path. She lives here in Beavercreek with her son, Nico, who is 19 and a full-time student at Sinclair. She's a realtor with Caldwell Banker there on Indian Ripple. Greta enjoys volunteering at senior centers and food pantries. She is a member of the VFW and enjoys traveling, hiking, kayaking, and downhill skiing. I have to ask her about that one. In fact, on her bucket list, she wants to downhill ski every mountain range in the world. I always like to ask different things. I asked her what the coolest place you've ever been, and she said, Caldas Novas in Brazil. Oh, I thought that was a mountain range. It is not. It's a hot springs kind of jungle area. And I also asked her the most famous person she ever met. She said President Bill Clinton. She is no stranger to Rotary, having belonged to the Houston Rotary Club from 2007 through 2012, and is looking forward to getting involved in our club. And I believe you kind of already have, haven't you? Her Rotary sponsor is Jerry Pfeiffer and will be pinned by Jerry. So Greta, you may be seated. Steve Temple, please rise and be recognized. Born and raised in Knoxville, Tennessee. If you talk to him, you can hear it. Steve graduated from Coffee County High School, where he played linebacker and ran track and played baseball. He attended Middle Tennessee State, where he earned his bachelor in business administration. He was a manufacturer's rep for Broyhill Furniture and account executive with the Berry Company. Then he went out on his own when he was 36 and started Pinnacle Investment Advisors, providing financial planning for his customers. He has his life license, Series 7, 63, and 65. His office is there on Beaverview, here in Beavercreek. He is certified in the Uniform Investment Advisor Law exam, and he has two hobbies. The first one is golf. The other one is very unique, and you have to talk to him about this. High power rocketry. Ask him to show pictures. This hobby came at a very young age because his father worked at NASA testing aircraft. He hand builds 10-foot tall, 60-pound rockets that can reach a height of 17,000 feet. Interesting, huh? He has to get FAA approval to launch these things. He said the motors in these things cost $800 and they use them once. So that's an expensive hobby. The rockets do have GPS locators, so he doesn't lose the whole thing. The fuel is a solid that is used, it's the same fuel used in space shuttle rockets. He just doesn't use as much. Let's see, where was I? Lost my, yeah. He belongs to the Tripoli Rocketry Association. Never heard of it. And the National Association of Rocketry. He has 2 adult children. He is married to our good friend from the Convention and Visitors Bureau, Kathleen Wright, well now Temple. Let's see, where are we? And his Rotary sponsor is Don Adams and will be pinned by the mayor. So Steve, you may be seated. So he's not really a rocket scientist, but sort of is, right? So these words only apply to our new inductees, but to all of us. Membership in Rotary is a privilege. Members are given the opportunity to become more involved in the community and the world around us. Involvement is the key to getting the most out of your membership. Volunteer to serve on a committee. These activities will help you get to know your fellow Rotarians, learn and develop leadership and organizational skills. Beavercreek Rotary is the service club of choice for those who make Beavercreek the wonderful community that it is today. Now, Rotary members are expected to attend our regular meetings and make up by visiting neighboring Rotary clubs. So Fairborn Rotary on Wednesdays, Xenia Rotary on Tuesdays. I think Oakwood still meets Monday mornings. Friday morning. Oh, is it Friday? Okay, but they're way too energetic for 7 o'clock in the morning. We also expect a prompt response to your quarterly invoice, or Eric will harass you. Participation in the Paul Harris Fellow Program, and most importantly, involvement in our club activities. Leaders are doers, not watchers. There are very many opportunities to serve with this club. Projects including our annual dictionary project, Christmas basket delivery, popcorn festival, golf outing, student exchange, pancake breakfast, and of course, service on our board. We recognize and award members for perfect attendance, participation in the Paul Harris Fellow Program, past presidents of our club, and service on our board of directors. So perfect attendance means that you attend all of the Friday afternoon meetings, or you make up when you can't attend these. Paul Harris Fellows are recognized to have donated $1,000 or more to the annual programs fund, Polio Plus, or humanitarian grants. Some Rotarians have achieved multiple Paul Harris awards. This is what you get when you get one. Get pins with different things in them signifying how many Paul Harris memberships you have earned. Membership in Rotary is an honor and a privilege. Treat it with respect and dignity. Wear your Rotary pin everywhere with pride. But most importantly, practice the principles and values of Rotary in your daily business and personal life. The motto of Rotary is very simple: service above self. We expect that you make this motto part of your life. We expect you'll be involved with the club. That's why you've been invited to join. At this time, I would like to have Greta, Jerry, Kathy, Don, come on up. Jerry, where are you? Yeah. And let's do the pinning. I found 2 very small pins. Go. I know, I want out. I'm moving on. Go ahead and put it right here. No.
There is smile. If you don't mind, in here too, is right. Don on it.
Of course. It's gonna stay. You got it.
Get to that.
All right, Kathy, getting there.
Welcome. So just. Okay. Oh, there. Hi.
Tell Steve, you can prepare your speech.
Oh, he can follow us.
Which story would you?
Now, one of the rocket stories, man.
I know.
All right, look at me. Hold on.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our newest Rotarians, Greta Costa, Steve Temple.
I'll give you more just please.
Thank you very much.
Also, for those of students that involved in Rocket Creek, he's actually talking about getting back into it. And we'll be looking for some volunteers to help him down the road. So I think it might be a project for whoever to get involved in. I want to see a rocket that goes 17,000 feet in the air.
Next month.
6 months. Chris is not here today. So I don't know that we had anybody else to fill in, so we'll just let that one go. At this point, so let's do Happy Bucks, you know. We keep that done for us. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm happy to see Gary. Hi, Gary.
Really don't see her, it's true.
Another one for Derry. Welcome back.
Well, if I may, the House passed out the budget, like it or not. Yeah, what's today, Friday, Wednesday? So I'm glad it's off our desk.
Is it coming back to you or?
Oh, yeah.
Fine. Well, I am happy that my wife is here with me today. Kind of cool. Also happy to be a part of a great organization. So push to have
Couple of happy bucks, Monday, congratulations to my wife for 35 years of marriage.
She's not here.
Yeah. It's hard to believe she's put up. Sure.
There's no white stuff on the ground, so I can go up to Indian Lake for the weekend.
They're obviously still, it's like it's like something stolen. Anyone else? Okay.
So last week, Carl Cologne announced that we were gonna have our grand opening of the Xenia Library on May 9th. The ribbon cutting is at 3 p.m. But this past Monday, we did a quiet, soft opening, so the doors are now open to the public at the Xenia Library. Come visit us.
I'm anxious to see that. Saw it during the construction and it's gonna be a decent place. Anyone else? Too dry. All right, great. Proceed to this, go to our Christmas basket program. The number is 653-947. And we're looking for the 10 class. Josh, right over. Yeah, what?
10 o'clock.
It hasn't. Yeah.
Josh was those cards. Be able to pull it.
You're wearing,
Like that.
That's mirror, mirror on the wall.
Any announcements for the club? You know, David has some.
May 16th, fast approaching our 9 a.m. shotgun start, 41st Rotary Golf Alley. So if you're gonna play, please let me know. If you are willing to sponsor, whether a hole or one of the other sponsorships, there's some pamphlets up here, and I can also email you those. If you know you're gonna have a foursome, but you just haven't put it all together yet, please just email me or call me and let me know so I can at least have an idea of where we are.
Very good. Good, Kevin.
Sure. So as you're aware, our district is participating in a Rotary Day of Service on April 26th, and our club specifically will be participating in the Beavercreek Parks event soaring into spring. So we have two possible volunteer opportunities. On the 21st, which is the Monday prior, 1:30 to 3:30, we'll be cleaning up Dominic Lupino Park, getting the park prepped for Saturday's event. And then on the 26th, there are some opportunities to work at our booth. We'll be giving away some bubbles and have carnival with all the kids that'll be there, and that's from 11 to 1:30. Sign up sheet is full, but there's always room for more if you'd like to join us. So just let me know.
Anyone else? You gonna mention Founder's Day?
I haven't mentioned,
Are you gonna mention, Career Center?
I am.
Tell me now.
As Eric said, Father's Day is May 9th. That's our annual awards. It's going to be at the Mills Morgan building down here, right down the street, starting at 5:30. And then we'll go from there. In addition to that, for perfect attendance, if you haven't gotten the joke, get with it today because I'm going to be ordering the pins tonight. So we'll have that. If you think you have perfect attendance, please get with Joe. April 25th is our District 667 gala at the Air Force Museum. And as you're all realizing by now, I have a lot of trouble with DAC TV. So when I sent out that email, it had my information on it. So if you want to go, please go to DAC TV. Sorry, it's Springfield Convention, golf outing. There was an email sent out from Jim Rudd about the Flags for Heroes. We need to re-up those for those that are out there. And then Eric has sent out an email about Rotary Dragons coming up on August 9th. We've got some time on that. We can start thinking about that. And then on May 2nd, we will not be meeting here. We will be meeting at the Career Center in Xenia. So this was set up and we just had emails going back and forth for frantically for a couple of days because nobody knew about it. So, but it is set, it's ready to go. So, anything else for anyone? All right, our speaker today is the president CEO of Solvita, located in Kettering. Chris is forward thinking with a proven record of accomplishments at Solvita. Over his 20-year plus career, his drive, ambition, and dedication for continuous business improvements are anchored to the company's mission of extraordinary people transforming the gift to save lives and to save and enhance lives. Chris earned his bachelor's degree in science from Bowling Green State University and received his MBA from Ohio University. Chris was drawn to this industry when he was personally touched by a tissue donation when one of his college roommates became a donor after being involved in a car accident and succumbed to his injuries. Drawn from this experience, Chris has striven to serve and support families that are touched by the generosity of organ and tissue donations. In 2012, Chris wrote and published a book called Bubba the Bear. The story written to consult children severely burned requiring skin grafting, and the book provided them encouragement, education, and companionship. So it provides free of charge the book and a teddy bear to children as a companion on their skin grafting journey. To date, 3,000 Bubba the Bear kits have been given to children around the world. I actually heard this presentation this past Wednesday at the Mayor's and Managers meeting, and I was impressed. And I asked Chris if he'd like for me to buy him lunch on Friday. And he said yes. I said, well, we'll speak for a so Chris.
Good afternoon, everyone. I should set my timer because I understand we have 25 minutes. I can talk for hours if you let me.
Go to 30 if you want.
Clicker. Are you trying to click?
I have it.
You have it? I'm a control freak, so I'll just click myself.
Be free with those things. Think the batteries good. Do you mind if I do it?
No, that's fine. So when Don asked me to give this talk with the audience, what are we doing? He goes, oh, it's at lunch. Not a better subject to
to pair up with lunch than talk about human tissue. So I have scrubbed the slides to make sure they're not too graphic or anything that you couldn't handle at the dinner table. Might be one a little questionable, but I think it will be okay. A little bit about myself. I'm 47. I've been married for 5 years. I have a 2.5-year-old and a 5-month-old, so it is very busy at the house. I have a little bit of a cold that's been going on for a week now, and I thank that to my kids.
Sorry.
That's all right. Oh, yeah, I have some transitions in there, so.
Just hide this real quick.
So if you've driven by Research Park and you see a very cool building along the way, this is our building. This building here was actually opened in 2011, and 10 years to the day, this was open. So this is 95,000 square feet, and then we added another 132,000 square feet just 10 years later because of our growth. We'll talk about that in a little bit. We have 1,043 employees. We are running production Monday through Sunday, 7 days a week. We have 3 shifts Monday through Friday. We have probably about another 100, 150 employees planned to add to payroll this year. When you get to 12 months in our organization, you stay on average 6.7 years, which in a manufacturing environment, that's really good. Most places it's 2 to 3 years and they drop off. So my job is how do I get you to 7? How do I get you to 10? Myself, I've been with the organization 22 years. Our revenue this year is planned to be about 280, 290 million, give or take. We'll see how forecasts go with our production. April is Donate Life Month, which is a perfect time to come out and talk to the public. I'm wearing blue and green. Blue and green is historically the colors for organ and tissue donation, organ, eye, and tissue donation. It's a great chance to talk about Donate Life and all the good that comes from it. Answer any questions that you may have. Feel free to raise your hand through the presentation. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about allografts. We're going to teach you something today. We'll see what you know. Does anybody in the room have an allograft? Anybody know anybody that's had an allograft in the family? Not everybody wants one. Okay. It's one of the fields where you don't know anything much about the industry unless you meet with a surgeon or a dentist and they say, we're going to have to use an allograft to improve your life. Or at 2 in the morning, someone passed away and we need to have this conversation to honor that gift and go through the process, which can be very challenging. What you're looking at here on the screen are 3 grafts that we make. We make over 800 different types of allografts. And the basic definition of an allograft is tissue from human to human. Xeno is animal to human. And those are really the 2 common, or we'll stop there. I go on to one more, but no reasons. When you look at it, so how we're advancing is we've been in business since 1986, and how it's grown and how it's changed is a surgeon would order some tissue or some bone for a procedure. They'd ship it in for the surgery under anesthesia. They would shape it, size it down to what they're trying to do to work with the fixtures or the implants, the metal implants that they're doing. And then allograft is used in part of that procedure. Well, what happens is usually they're making this graft when you're under anesthesia. And so before all of this inflation craziness that's going on in the world, it's $25 to $55 a minute is what the average cost is for what you are when you're under anesthesia. And so when a surgeon is actually making this graft, it might take them 20 minutes, it might take them 50 minutes. Some grafts actually take an hour and a half to make while you're under anesthesia. So when you see that little clock going on how much it costs for insurance and healthcare and how much you're tying up operating room time to get to the next surgery, where did the improvements come in? It was, well, how can we make grafts that are already shaped and sized and ready to go for transplant? And so that's where the evolution has really come for us and really where our growth is. So we're making a lot of different implants that are already prepackaged, ready to go and sized. Who here watches sports? Yeah. So you hear people tear their ACL, MCL, PCL, rip their Achilles tendons like Tiger Woods. All of those could be potential customers of our organization. We do professional athletes, we do Division 1, 2, 3 athletes, we do high school athletes, and we also do people that slip and fall in the Kroger's parking lot, tear their ACL. So you all could be customers of the organization. So how does tissue work? Well, the best way I can explain it is it's very much like when you cut your finger and you bleed and you put a Band-Aid on. And then what happens a week later? Usually if you're a good healer, it heals, right? That's your body remodeling. It's smart enough to know you got a boo-boo and you've got to fix it and it's going to remodel. Same thing's going to go on with tissue transplant. So your body will recognize that, hey, this might necessarily be the patient tissue, it's a donor tissue, but your body's going to use it as a scaffolding. It will tear it down and rebuild upon it. So a year from now, if you did a DNA swab on that area, it wouldn't show the donor tissue, it would show the patient tissue. So that's how fast the remodeling happens in some major procedures. So you go back one. So you're okay. So again, just as an example, these are grafts that are used, and then the surgeons historically would, now you go to the next one, would suture them, and this is what takes, believe it or not, 40 times. Yeah, no, it's not joint fabric. This is actually suturing that's done in the OR. It's done every day in medical procedures. But the difference is now we can do this at our own facility. So we are cutting out literally 50 minutes of operating time. And imagine if that surgeon makes a mistake, and it happens. They don't like to tell you that, but it does happen. And did they order a backup graft? If they didn't, they got to wake the patient up and you got to reschedule that surgery for another day. It happens. So everything that we can do to jumpstart that and to do that here at our facility is going to help improve that outcome so much faster in the hospital. We do a bunch of spine grafts. If you know anybody that has lumbar or cervical procedures, that's actually where we're removing bad bone areas and we're putting in new bad might be a new brand for us. But we're putting in new replacement bone that's going to again remodel and come into that space, and it's going to reduce or eliminate the pain that you're having. And many times when people have hips and knees surgeries, they've dealt with it for years. And the days they go in and they come out, they're like, why didn't I have that surgery 5 years ago? Because he wants to have surgery. But when you fix it, man, it changes your life. We've had people that put off or was really concerned about having dancing with their daughter at their weddings. And so they do these procedures and pain's gone and they can do that dance at the wedding. Blindness can be cured in some applications for cornea transplants. So there's just so much good that can come from this. Go to the next one. Who here watches commercials? Radio, listen to the radio. You can't get away from hearing about implants. Anybody have any dental implants? Yeah. You can't do those procedures without allograft bone. Right now, it's the big data in the world. We have about 30% of the market share in the United States. So a good possibility the bone that's being made in Kettering is being used in even your procedures. And so same concept. You've got to take out the bad bone. You got to build up that height. It remodels, it turns in solid, and then they can drill in the implant. And so we do tens, hundreds of thousands of those procedures every year. So those are all your life enhancing grafts. We can get you back to playing sports again. We can get you smiling again, eating solid foods in some instances. But the one graft that we're very proud of that is life-saving is our skin grafts. So you think of first responders, you think of fire departments, you think of the military. We help a whole host of individuals that have been injured, whether it's in the line of duty or just freak accidents. The skin is life-saving. And how it works is when you have 70, 80, 90% burns, what can get you? If the smoke and the fire didn't get you, is the infection. And so burn skin is put on patients immediately when they get into burn units to keep out bacteria. And that skin is different than what I was talking about before, where it remodels. It's only on as a dressing. It's only on for 5 to 7 days. It's taken off, the new skin's put on, and if a patient survives, they probably go through 3 to 5 of those applications. And then your body starts triggering to grow new skin. So we're very proud of our skin for burn victims. We're part of some very big government projects in the world for disaster relief. We help a lot of different countries. When you see oil tanker explosions, we work with health ministries around the world through our government and being able to benefit that. And that all again comes from right here in Kettering, Ohio, and in the Beavercreek area. We do a lot of mass production of grafts for surgeries that are, very routine and new developed. What you're looking at here on the screen, this will be 3 transitions, so I'll tell you when we go to the next one. This one might be the only one I'll say is a little sketchy for dinner, for lunch, but conjoined twins. Conjoined twins are not something you normally, or you're familiar with. You probably understand the concept. It's separating conjoined twins, right? But when they're conjoined at the brain, that's pretty challenging. And Dayton Children's Hospital, where this case was done, took about 8 months for the surgeons to map out blood vessels, nerves on these kids. And these kids came from, I believe, Guatemala. So it was, not a great situation for them to be in Guatemala, not really good innovation there. And so there was a lot of donation that was done to fly those kids here and to go through this process. So when you think of twins, it's pretty common sense. They're going to try to separate it right here. But when you separate something like that, what is that going to do? That's going to create a large void because they're sharing the same bone in the head. So when you cut that, there's going to be a void on both sides of those children that's pretty large. Standard of care for the last 50 years is you would take a titanium cap or a PEEK. Titanium is metal, PEEK is a medical grade plastic, and you would actually put a cap on the children. What happens when kids grow? Right? They grow this way. I said it wrong. What happens when kids get older? They grow. They go this way and they go this way, right? Well, what happens is in this type of procedure is that metal cap or that titanium or PEEK cap that they had on every 3 to 4 years, they got to go have another surgery and have it taken off and a bigger one put on. And that might happen 3 to 4 years. And so the 2 surgeons that we were working with at Dayton Children's said, we have an idea. Can you take a donated piece of tissue and can we create something that we can actually create a skull cap to rebuild their skulls? And then will it regrow, regenerate, right, remodel into the children's heads, and then they don't need those procedures moving forward of the additional caps. So if you go to the next slide, so this is what we created in 8 months. We spent about $800,000. This was all pro bono. I like to say we put the bone in pro bono in this case. And then you can go to the next one. And then this is one of the children after separation. You can see the deformity at the top, but at the bottom you can see them after one of the twins after remodeling. They look completely normal. This is about 1.5 years ago. Everything is remodeled as expected. The kids are separated now. They're from each other. They're doing great. But now this gives us ideas on if we can create a graft that can fix a void the size of somebody's head. What else can you do? I did want to pass around, probably didn't expect this today. Not only are you going to see about human tissue, but handle tissue about their packaging. So many times, companies will come to us with a PEEK version, plastic, or a titanium version. They'll say, you see this? We have this at PEEK or titanium for implants. But this is for a shoulder graft. But can you do this in bone? And this is the bone. Now, in the operating room, there's no way a surgeon could make this. We actually do this on CNC mills in a clean room environment, right? So it's very unique. But I want you to look at the spindles on this, and I want you to look at the spindles on this. I think we have this graft in 3 different sizes, so it's not perfectly the same size, but we actually have it in the perfect size. So I'm just going to pass this around. If you're uncomfortable with it, just pass it to the next person. It won't bite you, I promise. But it's kind of cool to share. And I think that's the other thing of showing how grafts, how small they are. This is what we're making. Do we distribute whole femurs? We do. If you're in a car accident, you shatter your whole femur, or cancer patient, we have those different types of grafts. But the grafts that we're making are very small. And it's really going to allow us to maximize the gift. When I started in tissue banking in 2003, one of my roommates was killed in a car accident, didn't know about the industry of the Bowling Green, right? I'm 21 years old. I'm invincible at 21. And boom, You know, you get that call, he didn't make it, he fell asleep behind the wheel and he was basically killed in a car accident. And so you start learning about the industry. I won't get to the sad part of the industry, the sadness, but from that, it was really, what can I do to help? And so when I joined the organization, one donor would help on average about 50 people. Today, one donor is helping on average 155 people. So the things have changed so much, and as you can imagine, in medical device, things that were made 2 years ago sometimes are obsolete. We make things that are 50 years old that still work today. But in other instances, we're making grafts for arthritis improvements and all kinds of things that didn't even exist 3 or 4 years ago. Every year, we're onboarding new technologies, about 6 this year, that not necessarily have ever been into the patient world. So really on the forefront of what we can do. Go to the next one. So this is a snapshot of the organization. I always like to say this as we started in 1986. I was born in 77, so I wasn't at the organization in 86. But you can see from this graphic, we were probably only transplanting a couple hundred grafts, and Community Tissue Services was a spinoff of Community Blood Center. If you did see in the news in November, we divested out of the blood business to only be in tissue for a couple of reasons. One, it was 8% of our revenue, but we weren't really investing in the technologies, and there was some things that were going on that we probably missed the boat on, and so we merged our blood center with Versity, which is a large blood center based out of Wisconsin, but they have operations in Columbus, Michigan, Indiana, Illinois. From a revenue standpoint, 400 plus million. So they had a lot more where we felt like they could help take care of the community even better than we were. And we were doing a really good job. We never stopped the surgery, but it was one of those things where you have to make a decision on what's best for not just the organization, but what's best for the community. So from that, we started off, but then what you can do is you look to your right, it took us 25 years to distribute our first millionth allograft. And then 5 more years to our second million, 2 years to our third, 2 years to our fourth, a little over a year to our fifth. And then, well, we didn't grow. What happened? COVID, collective surgeries shut down. We still grew that year, but barely. And then you can see the rebound after that. And now we're doing over 1 million allografts every calendar year that's being distributed. We're actually doing over 1.2 million last year, do more than that this year. So we're really growing. There's a lot of growth in what we're doing, and we're really excited about it. Next. So it used to be called Community Blood Center Community Tissue Services. As fun as that is to say, it doesn't really give us a good representation of what we do. And unfortunately, the community part of it kind of sounded more local. We're international. We're in 42 countries. We're obviously approaching 300 million. So we needed a different image, a different identity that could help broadcast the goodness that we're doing. And so Solvita was created. From one to many, the tagline is really from one donor can help a lot of people, on average 155. So that's where that comes from. Soul is sun, Vita is life. So sunny life is really the 2 words put together, and a lot of meaning we can do with that. That's our latest endeavor is, for us, growth, like you saw there, some people refer to as a hockey stick, is a good thing. Growth is good, right? Nobody wants to lay off, nobody wants to get small. But growth also comes with its own challenges. For us, we have to have a lot of infrastructure. We have to have clean rooms, we have to have big rooms for freezers, we have to have a lot of square footage. And believe it or not, the first building was 95,000 square feet. We built the second one for 132 million. And then about 7 months in, we were out of space in some areas. It's a good problem to have until you don't have space. And then you're scratching your head, how do we do that? So we really focused the next 2 years on master planning, really understanding where do we need to add more space, how do we do it? And then we started looking for land sites to build, or what could we buy? And so what you're looking here is the Synchrony Financial Building, if you know where that is in Kettering. It's 2 buildings. Each building is 200,000 square feet, so 400,000 square feet. So we purchased both of those buildings for 36 million. And this is really where our phase 3 growth is coming in the organization. It's only about 2.5 miles from our Kettering Research Park building. But this is what's going to allow us to really grow our business. Go to the next one. So phase one was 132,000 square foot warehouse space. When COVID hit us, like everybody else probably in this room, we went from like hospitals just in time. We had a great supply chain and getting supplies, consumables in to make our allografts. But then with COVID happened, there was a shortage of gloves. There was a shortage of everything that the hospitals were going through. So we really said, okay, we need to be able to have a warehouse that we can stock up to 6 months of our consumables. That's going to allow us to weather the storm when certain things like COVID hopefully never happens again. But things in the future are things from China. And so who knows what's going to happen now with the tariffs, right? So that's a challenge. So phase one was completed in August of 24. It was a capital investment of 12 million. Go to the next. Here's some pictures of it. It looks like a normal warehouse, but we had to put in the docks. We had to cut out land and build docks in because it wasn't designed for that. The door that you're seeing here is a room that's probably about 2,000 square feet, and it's going to pay for the whole building. Here's 200 or 400,000 square feet. It's a great question. It would be a Harvard business study case, I think, one day. So we use a lot of cold solutions in our processing, various things, acids. When we have vendors make things for us, we have, like you would have, that can store those things. Well, to do a pallet of that, we didn't have the space to store a pallet at, well, maybe a pallet at a time, but we didn't have any room to store 2 pallets at a time. So we had a distributor that we were paying $1 million a year. I'm sure you'd love to have that contract. $1 million a year just to store our cold storage solutions. So we said, we're going to build this bunker called Project Bunker because it's a former military desk building. And so we said, okay, we're going to build our own cold storage. So by cutting that distributor out, we are going to save $1 million. The depreciation of 36 million over 30 years, over 40 years, right, is about $1 million a year. We basically bought that building for free. Now, it didn't pay for the remodeling and everything else, but that's a huge, smart way to look at how we're going to do growth and be able to goal for that. Now, there are a couple images of the cages and everything that we have in the warehouse. Now we're going to talk about phase two. Phase two is the yellow. That is, you can go click the next one. And so that is going to be the remainder of 132,000 square feet. So in my head, that's 168,000 square feet is where we have now based our master planning efforts on what do we need to do. So this is actually looking at the other half of the building is kind of a blank canvas for us. So we can pretty much do whatever we want. It's great from a disaster planning. It's all concrete. It was designed to withstand several tonnage of bombs, right? That's what the whole purpose of it was. We don't need to worry about that. What we need to worry about in Dayton, Kettering, and Beavercreek, Ohio is tornadoes. So that building is going to withstand tornadoes. And for us, that was one of the things that keeps me up at night of having all of our operations in our research park is we needed this as more of a contingency if God forbid something were to happen. So phase two of this bunker started actually last week. We have a capital investment of 26 million underway. The renovation will be done. Then you can go to the next one. So we are moving some of our operations from Kettering, some of our operations from Dayton, consolidating them out of the bunker in these locations. We're actually bringing in robots to help move things around. So more automation is coming into our organization. We're going to build and make our own dry ice, which is something as our size, we now can cost justify 3.5-year payback. So that's pretty good for an organization. And so we're really excited about this, which will not only get us for the next couple of years, but this is 10 years of growth planned. If we outgrow it, it's a good problem to have, but we also have 40-some acres that we can actually build upon there too, with all those additional parking lots, because Synchrony Financial had over 2,000 call center people there. Then when COVID happened, they realized, oh, we could send everybody home, and now we don't need that big building. So we jumped and bought it. Thanks. In the news, how are we gonna pay for it? Well, I kind of showed you through the Harvard business case of cost justification on that cooler is gonna help do it. But that's over 30 years. People tend to want their money paid when we do things right away, right? So we actually went out and got public bonds, even though the press got it wrong. You ever heard of that? It's a 60 million in the article, it's 42 million. So we got bonds, public bonds for 42 million, which was a very cool and interesting process and got us good experience for future growth with bonds. And then the last thing I'll highlight, last slide, is the other thing, if you saw in the news, one of the other things is we're always looking for innovation. We're looking for ways to help the environment. We're looking for ways of how can we recruit younger talent? What are they looking for? They really tie into our mission. Usually when they stay is because they want to help save against lives. But the other things they're looking for is what are you doing to help the environment? We use a lot of plastic. Unfortunately, with medical devices, there's nothing we can get around that. It's not really recyclable. We are still heavy paper driven, so we save lives. We kill a lot of trees. We're working to be more cloud-based. But the thing that we thought we could implement that had a cost-based justification was a very large solar array, which is being installed. The fencing just went in the last 2 weeks, and then in October of this year, the back part of our operation will have all of the solar panels, which will be enough to generate enough power for 200 plus homes. In correlation to our business, that's about a 15% offset of needing power from the grid. So it's a good first start, but it just shows you a little bit how inefficient all of this is. It's still only 15% to run both buildings 24/7. I think that was my last slide. Happy to answer any questions you might have. Yeah.
So out of curiosity, where do you think that you are from using the 3D printing technology to start generating some of that?
Yeah, 3D printing with the FDA and obviously with everything that's going on in the government, there's been a lot of people that have been stepping aside. Good at that, I will say. Probably they've been over-regulating the FDA for a number of years, and it would be good to have a little less regulation to help speed up that. But when you're talking about 3D printing, you're going to talk about they're going to treat it as a BLA, which is it's 20 to 50 million. It's going to be 10 years of research and studies. It's probably not something we're going to take on. That graph that's going around the room, we partner up with billion-dollar devices because they're the ones spending 50, 100 million a year in research and development to find those things. And it's a sweet spot. So 3D printing we played with. But when you have to incorporate certain binding agencies that really keep the tissue together, now you're starting to upregulate. We can do 510Ks and we do 510K production today. But when you get higher regulations like BLAs and pharma, basically big pharma, it becomes very costly to where it's not something I don't think I'll see it probably until I retire. I think we're probably 20 years away from that type of technology. Yeah.
Do you have any partnerships with the local universities or the Air Force?
We have partnerships with the Air Force with our skin grafts through BARDA, but universities, we are starting to get into engineering with Wright State. We're looking at Cincinnati. We're trying to get into it. It's one of those things where the industry has just started getting into bioengineering. I'm not saying last year, it's probably within the last 10 years, but it's something still so new that it's one of those things of how can you really bring in interns to help you over a semester or a year to be valuable and for them to get something out of it. What I like to say to public groups like this is we're an organization that we can take someone from high school and give them a career. We can take people with associate's degrees and give them careers. We have jobs for bachelors. We have MDs. So we have very high level educations all the way down to very basic. If you're trying to go to college, whether it's a 2-year or a 4-year, we're offering 410s, 312s, and 8-hour days schedules. We're trying to be very accommodating because we understand the generations are looking for different things. They're not looking for the 9-to-5 jobs. They're looking for 410s. Honestly, 410s is something that's really starting to show up where people want 3 days off a week. They'd rather have that versus just the weekend and only work 8 hours. So we're trying to be really innovative when it comes to that. And we'll just keep trying to do that. And back to that, yeah, Wright State and really Cincinnati is who we're not officially partnered with, but we do different things with. Anything else? Yeah.
So this is a major operation. So currently, how many bodies or whatever are you?
Donors.
The donors does it take to do this?
So we're on track this year for about 11,000 tissue donors. And so when you think of Ohio, we actually recover in the state of Ohio. We work with other OPOs. OPOs are an organization. They do the hearts, livers, lungs, kidneys, and we do the tissue side. We're probably only recovering maybe a little over 1,000 donors in Ohio. So we're partnered with 38 OPOs around the United States. And so when you're at the Dayton airport and your baggage claims these big white boxes come off, those are donors. We probably had 30 to 50 donors in the air right now working their way to get to Dayton. And so we have teams of logistics that are just tracking these donors to make sure they get there. Because many times they get stuck in Chicago, and then we've got to pay couriers to drive them the remainder of the way. Or, weather issues like all the rain that cause problems, snow, obviously, and then there's obviously mechanical on planes. So there's a whole team that's just tracking the donors. 1,000 donors that takes to do our business today. And like I said, with organs, it's a little different. You got 3 to 5 hours, maybe 24 hours on a kidney to get it transplanted. That graft that's right there, it's got a 5-year shelf life. So you can build, we have probably 80,000 grafts in our warehouse. And so we can build inventories. And so when we work with these 42 countries, some of them are third world. They don't even have power to power these freezers. So we have to lyophilize them or freeze dry, fancy way to say freeze dry them. And then we can ship them to third world countries where they wouldn't have had access to human tissue any other way. Med device in third world countries are 15 to 25 years behind the United States. So they're using technology we used 15, 25 years ago. They haven't even seen the cool stuff yet because they're not ready for it. So we see a lot of growth opportunity in some of those countries.
I have a question, Mark.
Yeah.
So how do you get from a donor? Like, do you get a donor? And then how do you get to that?
Good question. So in the human body, there's cortical, which is your hard bone. That's your outlaying bone, your femurs, your tibias, right? And then there's a webbier bone inside called cancellous. And so everything is recovered and whole in the operating world when we're doing recovery, and we'll do zone recovery. We'll swab culture everything. So we're getting microbiology results on it. We do blood, right? So we're looking for serologies. And one thing I didn't say, so all of this hard work we do, about 15% don't get to transplant. We are doing everything we can to screen out anything that would be unsafe. So we can do all of this work before it ever enters the clean room environment. About 15% unfortunately gets discarded. So if we have femurs, we're actually CT scanning them. We're looking for thickness of wall shafts. It's gotten very scientific, and we can actually map out how many grafts we think we can get, and then production planning makes production instructions from that. So some donors, even though a donor is recovered, it might take us a year to fully make the gift on them because we are trying to maximize everything we can based on our orders and our forecasting. We have it's like every big business with forecasting, we're doing the exact same thing. It's just our raw material is human. It's a little different. Anything else?
On the case study, what did proximity to you guys and the patient, which is a super custom special scenario, did that influence their choice to come to Dayton Children's?
I wasn't part of selecting the patients. Dayton Children's takes on so the 2 surgeons, I think there's more, but they came from Cincinnati Children's, and I think they brought a wealth of intrigueness on let's do some new things, and Dayton Children's really wanted that to get some public notoriety and do some really tough cases. So I wasn't on the selection of that, but Dayton Children's is like many children's hospitals. They're looking for unique situations to help necessarily third world countries and help some kids with goodwill. And that one lined up nicely for what was an expertise. There is if you ever get bored for an hour and a half, you go on YouTube, you can YouTube search Dayton Children's Conjoined Twins, and there's an hour and a half documentary on how they did it. And it's pretty fascinating. They had 3 teams working, I think 2 or 3 days straight to separate those kids. It wasn't just a 8-hour process. It was like 3 days nonstop to separate them. It's good. That is my time.
Okay, thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
It truly is amazing.
Thank you. People who would like a tour, just reach out. I'm happy to give you, because the tour of the inside of the building is way cooler than what I just even said. 35 minutes, yeah, I didn't even work down my clock. Apologize.
Yeah, when I went to see the other day, it kind of hit home for me because my wife just had a corneal transplant about 3 weeks ago, so kind of was a good transition. Next week's speaker probably should have been this week and you next week because it's Ohio Hospice and Ohio Hospice, so have to go there before they go there. The book dedication, information coming up, the Easter Bunny is coming to Ohio. And Chris has already signed this in the library. Thank you, Beth. No, there she is. As I said, next week's speaker is Don Footer. He's with the Ohio Hospice and several other things. Next week's reader is Bob Ridgway again, and David Brandenburg.
Wow.
Keep your eyes on upcoming programs, beavercreekrotary.com or Facebook. Don't forget, May 2nd, we will be at the Career Center. I'll send information out about that. Anything else for good of the club? Second. Seeing none, if you all stand, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God. There is a board meeting immediately following this meeting, so if you'd like to, you're welcome to talk as the manager. Yeah.